What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your Brewmaster-in-Chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with a Simic kicker deck. I thought it would be a perfect idea, especially considering I'm continuing on this sort of forgotten mechanics little series that I've embarked on, but also because it does appear as though Kicker is making a comeback. The few spoilers that we have received already for Dominaria United, there is a card with Kicker in it, and so it does seem as though Kicker is going to be back, which is great. It's definitely one of my favorite mechanics, and so I thought, you know, this would just be a perfect opportunity to revisit one of the mechanics from Zendikar Rising. And one of the decks that I actually had the most fun playing with during that standard format. The Simic version is great. It's definitely not your typical Simic ramp kind of thing. It's more of a sort of mid-rangey pile with some control elements to it. But it does have a nice rampy top end as well. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling and getting a little ahead of myself. I'll wait until we dive into today's deck to really break it down for you. But before I do, I just wanted to also just remind everybody that at the time we still had the other color triomes in the format, and there was a Sultai triome. I think it was called Zagoth. You know, before Ikoria rotated, and so my previous versions of this that you will find if you really go dig deep and far back on the channel would have been Sultai, making use of also Bloodchief's Thirst, which is probably of the kicker cards the one that has stuck around the longest. There's still quite a few lists, in especially mono green, that run the Inscription of Abundance, a couple of copies, but most of the other kicker cards sort of faded off into oblivion. So I thought, let's give this one last whirl before rotation. So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's brew. Simic Kicker. Voila! Feast your eyes on this beautiful creation. We've got a lot of cards to get through, so let's take it from the top. First off, Bubble Snare. It's this like a version of something like this is always in standard, where, you know, the other one's called Charmed Sleep, the one that usually gets the reprint, where you enchant the opponent's creature and then it doesn't untap during its untap step. If you cast it just for 1 mana, then they still get to attack with it once more. But if you kick it for a total of 4, then you also tap it when you enchant the opponent's creature. So really nice, especially against these creature decks. You kind of prevent them from ever attacking again unless they have specifically enchantment removal, which is quite nice. Then, sort of our main payoff, and probably the main win con in the entire deck, is this full playset of Roost of Drakes. Again, very cheap, without the quick kicker, and then same cost as the Bubble Snare. If you kick it for 4 mana, when it enters the battlefield, you get to make this 2/2 flying drake, but then whenever you kick another spell for the rest of the game, as long as this enchantment is in play, you get another 2/2 drake. So the plan here is to build up an army of these little 2/2s and you know, win that way most of the time. But it's not the only win con. We'll get to some other ones shortly. Then I just thought I'd throw in a couple of Reclaim the Waste, just in case we're breaking a little bit, trying to find some lands. You can either just pay 1 and search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand and shuffle. But if it was kicked, then you can look for 2 basic lands instead of 1. Not bad. And of course, like I previously stated, if we're trying to kick as many spells as possible to get as many of these drakes as we can, then having cheap kicker cards like this is great. So I just thought, let's throw in one more that also has the added value of helping us curve out nicely. Then more like control-y elements. We've got Into the Roil, which also happens to be a little bit of card draw. You can either just pay 2 mana and you can return target non-land permanent. Any non-land permanents, nice. Can be also enchantments. You know, there's many good things that you might want to bounce back to the opponent's hand that isn't just creatures. And then if you do kick it, then you also get to draw a card. So lovely. Then we've got both the inscriptions in the deck. We've got the green one and the blue one. The green one, we all know, it sees the most play probably out of all of them. And also not every color got one, unfortunately. It would have been nice if there was a red inscription, but I think it was just blue, green, black for sure. Oh yeah, and white didn't get one either, for whatever reason. But Inscription of Abundance, if you kick it, so for 5, which is quite cheap, you get to do all 3 of these things. Put a 2+1/+1 counters on a target creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control. And, you know, it's also a fight spell, so it can be a little bit of removal. And we've got some cool targets for this. The first one is the Vine Gecko, which is our... yeah, really important card in the deck. I mean, alongside the Throne of Makindi, which we'll get to in a moment, it's ways in which we can reduce the casting cost of these kicker cards. So the first kick spell you cast each turn costs 1 colorless less to cast. Of course, this ability will stack if you have multiple Vine Geckos on the battlefield. You can kick some pretty expensive spells for a lot less, which is great. And then whenever you do, second payoff. So not only if we've got Roost of Drakes in play, we'll be getting a 2/2 every time we kick a spell, but we'll also be growing our Vine Gecko. So of course, the perfect target for Inscription of Abundance, because not only will it get bigger because of Inscription of Abundance, but also because you're kicking the inscription, it'll also get bigger. So then the life gain that you get from the inscription gets more and more. It feels a little bit sort of mage crafty in that sense. I'm trying to think. There's the 2-drop dragon something. I can never remember the name of the card. The one with magecraft. But basically, you know, what I'm trying to say is the casting of the spell grows the creature, and then you get to fight with it. So it usually can take out a creature that's a lot bigger than it at the moment, you know, before you start casting the spell. Then Verazol, the Split Current. This is like where the jankiness really comes in. It enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each mana spent to cast it. So it's not each mana that is X, which is cool, because if you just pay X as 2, but then it also costs green and a blue, it'll come into play as a 4/4. And then whenever you cast a kicked spell, you may remove 2 +1/+1 counters from it, and if you do, you get to copy that spell, and you can choose new targets for the copy. So pretty damn cool. Nice way of like copying some of our kick spells. Unfortunately, it's legendary, but you know, it's top deck this in the late game. You just dump all your mana into it. Can be very, very nice. And I hope to prove that to you, especially with something like the inscriptions or Into the Roil. There's plenty of good copies targets that we can obtain with Verazol, the Split Current. So gone with the full playset, of course. Then we've got Lullmage's Familiar, which is a nice little mana rock, 3 mana, to get a 2/4, which is a decent blocker, and you can tap it to add either green or blue to your mana pool, and then whenever you cast the kick spell, you gain 2 life. So this is our second way of gaining a bit of life alongside the inscription. And here on the top end, we've got some other lovely kicker cards. The Inscription of Insight can be real game-ending, although it's very, very expensive. You'll need to have a few Vine Geckos in play if you want to cast this any point early in the game and pick all of the options. Of course, you can just pay 4 mana and just do one of the 3, which they're all pretty good. You can either return 2 target creatures to their owner's hands, you can scry 2, then draw 2 cards, which is great, or make an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the number of cards in your hand. But of course, if you can kick it, all the better. Unfortunately, it does cost 8 mana. It's quite a bit. But again, if we've got a couple of Vine Geckos in play, and we've managed to accumulate some counters onto our Throne of Makindi, then that can get reduced a little bit. And then, you know, getting all of that value for 6 mana can be really, really quite something. Bounce 2 of the opponent's creature tokens, draw 2 cards, and then make this huge illusion. Pretty cool. And then trying to sneak in a little bit of a sort of typical Simic rampy type top end, we've got a couple copies of the Cragplate Baloth. Can't be countered, hexproof, haste 6/6. And if you kick it, okay, I mean, it's a lot, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. But if you kick it, it comes into play as a 10/10 hexproof haste. If only it had trample, then it would really win games. But either way, really nice little bit of a top end here. Just a couple copies. You don't want to be starting your game with too many of these in your opening hand. This is the type of thing you want to top deck if a game goes a bit longer. So, talking about Throne of Makindi, I've alluded to it a few times during the deck tech. You can tap, pay one colorless, tap it, and put a charge counter on it. And then you can remove a charge counter from Throne of Makindi and add 2 mana of any one color. So, again, a way of, alongside the Vine Gecko, to help reduce some of the casting costs of these expensive kicker cards. Because you can spend this mana only to cast kick spells. Then we've got 1 Hall of Storm Giants, 2 Boseijus, 1 Otawara, 1 Littjara Mirrorlake. Thought, why not? Might as well play it. It's in the right colors. We won't get to play with these specific lands for much longer. And this one, you get to create a copy of a target creature you control, except it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So, maybe we get to copy just a Vine Gecko, or a Lullmage's Familiar, or another Verazol. There's a couple of cool copy targets for the Littjara, just a sneaky one of, and then just a hodgepodge collection of duels and basics as usual. That's the deck. Simic Kicker coming back for one last huzzah before rotation. Let's jump into some games. Definitely going to be taking it for a spin in the unranked ladder, as I've been doing of late. Just really enjoying myself with this series, to be honest. Having so much fun just playing something just simple and easy and old school. But we're probably reaching the end of this little mini-series. I got a couple more things up my sleeves, but then we'll probably get back into some little bit more serious competitive decks. Probably starting next week, once I get back to my house. Now I'm still on the road. We finally made it to North Bali. Went snorkeling today in this incredible, Japanese warship that sunk off the coast here. So much live coral, plenty of fish. We're going to be taking the underwater camera out tomorrow, so I'll try and post some pics for you guys on the Twitter as well as on the community tab of the channel. All right. Nico. Sure. What we got? If we top deck one more land, we can kick the Roost of Drakes straight away, which would be quite nice. Gosh darn it. Get a Bubble Snare on there next turn. Or maybe Roost of Drakes. Let's see. Well, if we top deck another land, I'll probably Inscription. No. Badoosh. I'm worried about Banishing Verse, of course, as usual. Well, he may Banishing Verse the Bubble Snare. Okay. Let's put a charge counter on the Makindi. So slow down just a tad. The opponent's beating us on lands, unfortunately. Would have preferred a top decker land there, but double Vine Gecko is not bad. I think we must try and go for an inscription next turn. Yep, these are actual standard cards. You may not have seen some of them for a little while. But they are in standard. You did not pick the wrong play mode. Ooh. Juicy. Come on, whiff. Yeah, that's quite the whiff. Okay. Bye-bye, Elspeth.
The city's tearing itself apart.
So probably clerics, right? Orzhov clerics. They tend to run some removal, but not that much. Okay, fine. Stupid ass card. Are we gonna get to do some crag plating soon? Sorry about the lighting as usual. A little bit dark, but actually not terrible. Pity. Somebody who actually runs Fracture. Good on you, mate. It's not something you see every day. I was pretty excited to cast the Cragplate there, but a win's a win. What can I do? On to the next one. Hopefully that sort of sets the mood for tonight. I'm thinking probably Samurais tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. Grey J. I'll keep it. Probably shouldn't, but I'll keep it. Orzhov again. Oh no, Mardu. Mardu Samurais. Maybe. Or Mardu Modified or something. You might as well get in for that damage before it's too late. We may need to Into the Roil something. I had a feeling it would be Ishin. Let's get down Verazol as a 4/4. If we find another land, we'll have 5. This costs 2, and it will reduce this by 1. This costs 4 to do. So 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we should be able to do both if we get one more land. Not looking amazing right now. Equip Rabbit Battery. Attack with Ishin. Doesn't really matter if you get double lifelink, other than the fact that your life total is getting a little bit too far ahead for my liking. Now you got chump blockers galore. Okay, you're gonna exile my Verazol, or you're gonna
must contend with me.
Put a +1/+1 counter somewhere. Fine. I'd rather that happens.
This is what you get for hurting my people.
Something cheap with kicker next turn would just be amazing. Make another 3 drakes. I think we do need to start chump blocking a little bit. Our life total's quite low.
I'll be back.
Land would be nice. Land would be very nice. Uh-oh. The guy's on 35. He's down to 1 card in hand. It's a highly problematic situation here. Man, getting mana screwed like this, might have been able to turn it around, but at this point I honestly don't know what to do. Is a samurai. Interesting. May need to throw one of these into my samurai deck. Opponent goes to 39. Oh, God. What a boring match. Woohoo! 2, 4. Not enough to take you out. But at least we gain a bit of life, and we stop him gaining life, and we make 3 drakes. Opponent's very slow. Still on 4 lands. At least we got the Lullmage's familiar. So 5 total available. Unbelievable. So they all got menace. Come on, dude. Come on, mate. Get your shit together. Jesus, could you be any slower? What the hell are you doing? Well, that's a decent little bit of a board wipe in a sense. Can we Baloth next turn? No. Surely not. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. 2 more mana. Enormous energy blade. I'm just gonna play it on the front side. So now he can't lose the game if this thing is equipped to something. This thing is really, really bad card. Okay. Super funky, like, unranked deck type. Oh, we could have done the Baloth. Oh my goodness. That hurts. That hurts a lot. If I just waited one more turn, we would have had a 10-10. And it gets tapped. Go on. Mate, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is possibly so long? Come on, man. Anything with kicker, please. Oh, baby, baby. Gain 2 life from the familiar. Oh, that is just so groovy. Imagine we actually win this match. So this thing taps things, which is pretty scary. Kinda. Kinda. Not really. 2 equip cost. What a stupid card. Baby, 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 yeah. I'm gonna start swinging. looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Fortunately, he can't lose the game with this Cloud Steel Kirin equipped. But now that you're tapping your own creature, you might just have kind of screwed yourself over a little bit there. Basically, we just need to find a way to unequip the Kirin and we just immediately win. We have a few ways of doing that in the deck. Inscription, Into the Roil. I wonder if he'll take the Familiar or the Vine Gecko.
Confident? You're just underwhelming. You're done.
Yeah. Oh. Get rid of you.
I'm never done for good.
Ah, a life gain. And the indestructibility. That's a big problem. It's a big problem. Come on, just give me any one of my many bounce cards. Come on. Pass the turn. Okay, at least he's also flooding. I think he can probably equip the Blade of the Oni and it would lose the enchantment, but he isn't trying, which is great. And we win the game. All we had to do was just wait for one of these cards. Gotcha! Gotcha! That's the first time I've actually played against somebody who'd managed to equip this thing. It's the first time that's ever happened to me. The last effect like this was the that angel counter thing. People were putting it on the Faceless Haven. But yeah, all you need to do is somehow get rid of the creature that it's equipped to, especially because he was already on negative life. Voila! Very nice, the Verazol copying this early game Roost of Drakes, making us 3 of these flyers every time. Really nice. and then the life gain from the Inscription of Abundance and the familiars. Oh yeah. Guys, I wish we could go for another match, but we've arrived at the 40-minute mark. That was a very long one, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it at that. But we did get to kind of showcase the entire deck. The only thing we didn't get to kick was the Cragplate Baloth, but we did get to hardcast one. So all in all, I'm quite happy with the performance. Not anything that I really need to, you know, drive home more than I already have. It's an older deck that you've probably played before, but definitely if you feel like doing something fun for one last time before rotation, I recommend taking this old Simic kicker list for a spin, because it wins matches. I remember getting to Mythic with this, like, I want to say way over 6 months ago, but yeah, that's going to be it for tonight's gameplay footage. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, you could also join our lovely Discord community. The link is down in the description. I will see you all the day after tomorrow, probably with some samurai shenanigans, so stay tuned. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.